and Josh Sweat's value would have been on the open market compared to what they got if they hadn't had the postseasons that they had. And I don't think there's any way they get anywhere close to it. I just think teams really value that, whether for right or wrong. They put more emphasis on those games than maybe 3 or 4 years of regular season play. It's an interesting question. I don't know how much Josh Sweat or Milton Williams would have gotten without those postseason performances, but I'm pretty confident it would have been a lot less. And I think that applies to Jordan Davis and his postseason too. It's interesting how teams value those games.
Yeah. So I didn't have Jordan Davis's fifth-year option on my list. What I had at number 5 was signing Azeez Ojulari. This is probably their biggest free agent addition. It wasn't, it didn't break the bank. Nothing they did broke the bank this offseason, but somewhat significant. 1 year, $3 million contract. They do kind of expect that to cancel out one of the comp picks that was coming their way. So significant enough that they were willing to lose one of those day 3 comp picks. But I look at Ojulari, and we've seen him a lot because he's been in the division. Probably haven't seen him enough because he's been injured so much, but the upside here is huge. He's a really good player. He's been productive in his career. He's still so young. He's 24 years old. He's already played 4 full seasons in the NFL. So, he'll turn 25 soon. Not
exactly full seasons. He's played 29 games the last 3 years.
Sure.
So that's the question with him. He started 17 games since his rookie year in 2021. So when he's been out there, it's kind of like a Goddard type thing. When he's been out there, he's really good. It's just a matter of keeping him out there. If they could do that, I think he turns 25 in the next week or two.
In June.
In middle of June. So I'm okay with that at number 5. I think I don't know what to expect from him. We'll see. He could be a big-time playmaker. He could be a guy that you just, by the middle of the season, you're like, man, what happened to him? So we'll see.
Yeah, it's similar to Goddard, too, that he hasn't had, those super significant, season-ending injuries. He plays each year. It's just how much is he going to play? I think he can actually help them. And you're looking it's been a quiet offseason in terms of acquisitions. He's the one acquisition I think can actually really help them this year.
Yeah, it certainly has a chance. The numbers jump out at you. He's only played 46 games in his career. He's got 22 sacks, 21 tackles for loss, 37 quarterback hits. He's just been a really productive player, over 100 tackles. So how many games you're going to get from him, who knows? But when he's out there, he's a playmaker.
All right, how about number 4?
Number 4, I have Goddard. I have bringing Goddard back for a year. I
have that a little higher on my list.
I had him higher, and then the reason I dropped him to number 4 was because it's almost certainly a 1-year thing. I kind of valued longer-term deals that are going to affect the team for more years than this, but I do think it's very important. It's a huge move, especially considering what else they have at the position. Common sense said they were going to find a way to do it, and we've been saying that for months now, that it seemed too doable to not do it, and they got it done. And you give credit to both sides for compromising a little bit, and you have a really good player for another year. I think it's a big move.
Yeah, and so on my list, I have 2 moves that are basically for this year. The Ojulari and Goddard. I had Goddard 3. Everything else they did this offseason was with long-term goals. And aside from the 1-year deals, they gave a bunch of kind of lottery ticket type free agents. A lot of their best moves this year were for long-term. The Goddard one isn't, but that's okay because this is a team that, so much of what they did this offseason, you're thinking about 26, 27, this is a move for 25, and they have a chance to win the Super Bowl again. So I understand it, and it was a wise decision to eventually get to.
And what do you have in that spot?
At 4, I have extending Cam Jurgens. And maybe I have it this low just because it always seemed like a foregone conclusion that they were going to do it. It's just Howie's way. But it is what makes the Eagles so good. Honestly, it's one of Howie's strengths. It's been one of the strengths of the organization going back to Joe Banner is that they identify the players they refuse to let leave the building, and they make sure they extend them earlier than they need to. And this is exactly what they did with Juergens. It's top of the market right now. By the time he enters, a couple years down the road, it won't be anymore, and that's okay. He gets some money up front. He's happy. The team's happy. They lock him down long term. It's like it is the prototypical Howie Roseman, Eagles, Joe Banner type of move.
Joe's going to appreciate that.
Hey, he deserves credit for that.
He does. He deserves credit for a lot. I mean, Howie learned a lot from Joe in their years together, and credits him. He does credit him. I think the fact that we all knew it was going to happen, to me, doesn't make it less important. It was a move we all knew was coming. They were going to agree. He was going to be here for the long term. I put it ahead of Goddard just because the number of years. It's just a move that it gives him a Pro Bowl offensive lineman for several years. So, with another team, you don't know. Maybe they're going to sign Juergens. Who knows? I don't know. They're going to be able to agree on something. With this team, it's almost a foregone conclusion that a guy like him is going to be here. But that, to me, that doesn't make it any less important.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't. And we're going to talk about the Cowboys in a little bit. I mean, they are the poster child for not doing these deals and getting themselves into a world of trouble. So don't take it for granted either. I think that we probably do, just because they're going to figure it out. It's rare to have any kind of. When's the last contract dispute they had? I mean, I guess Reddick maybe a little bit. Before then, Zack Ertz. Like, it just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and in both those cases, you're talking about older players. I think Reddick was 29 when all that happened. Ertz was probably about the same, I guess.
And they really avoided the Reddick one.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think like the last time a younger, a guy coming off his 4-year rookie deal. I just can't think of one. I mean, it used to happen all the time. And I also think other players see these guys getting these contracts and getting the money up front, getting the money earlier, being able to invest it, and the security it gives them. And they want to be that guy. And they know that they have a chance to with this organization, where a lot of places you don't. And I think that kind of helps keep the pipeline going. Guys just want to be here because they know they're going to get taken care of.
Yeah, if you're a young player and you play out your rookie deal and you don't have a contract yet, guess what? You're not a priority. That's a harsh way to look at it, but that's the reason it doesn't happen, right? It's like Milton Williams. They love Milton. They'd love to have Milton on the team, but he wasn't their top priority. That's why he ends up hitting free agency. If Milton had played at a Jalen Carter level for the first 3 years of his career, they extend him.
Yeah.
And they don't even get into a situation where he's about to hit free agency and gets tempted by hitting the open market. Because once you're that close, you might as well see what the market has in store for you. You're kind of like, if you sign a deal before, like a month before hitting free agency, you're probably tossing a lot of money in the garbage, So the idea, and it's a wise idea for the Eagles, is don't even let a player get tempted to touch free agency. Keep them happy, pay them up front, get that chunk of change in their pocket, and then you keep them long term.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the closer you get to that date, March 4th or whatever it is, I mean, the less your chances are of keeping that guy, and the higher his price is going to keep going up. So get ahead of it like Howie does, and it helps you in so many ways. It helps you with the players. It helps you in the locker room. It helps you with morale. It helps you in the cap. I mean, it's a pipeline, and it's working great.
So to recap, I have Azeez Ojulari at 5, Cam Juergens at 4, restructuring Dallas Goedert at 3. You have Jordan Davis's 5th year at 5, Dallas Goedert at 4, Cam Juergens at 3. So I think we're going to have the top 2.
Yeah.
And are they in the same order?
Well, I had drafting Jihad Campbell second.
Okay, so they're in the same order.
Okay.
And look, this is obviously everything else on this list, because he's just by the nature of Campbell being a rookie, it's all projection. So everything else on this list, you at least have something to go on in the NFL. Campbell's purely a projection, but typically consensus shapes the way we think about the draft, and he was a consensus top 15 pick that they got at 31. So the value's excellent, the player's really great, and he's a linebacker, at least for now, which makes Eagles fans happy.
Yeah, it is a projection. Boy, their track record in recent years in the draft, really not just the first round, but the first few rounds, is so good that you feel like, look, you never know with draft picks. You really don't, but you feel pretty good about where they are as far as player evaluations. You feel good about what this player can do. You feel good about his tape. You feel good about his character. It's still an inexact science, but I really like the pick, and I can't wait to see this guy in action, whenever that is.
Yeah, and look, we know the reason he was available this deep into the draft wasn't about the player. It was about the medical evaluation. And I think they deserve some benefit of the doubt, too. When you look at recent history in the draft, Landon Dickerson, early in the second round, a lot of concern. I mean, a lot of injuries in his college career, and he's been a Pro Bowl guard. Nakobe Dean in the third round eventually gets hurt deep into his career, but the season he had in 2024, that makes that a good pick. So they've had some moments where they've nailed it on the medical evaluation in recent years in the draft. So as much as we always give Howie the benefit of the doubt, I think the medical staff deserves some of that too.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's, I mean, you feel for these players, because if you're coming off an injury, you're getting poked and prodded by 32 teams or close to it and asked the same questions about your injury. I know they share like MRIs and x-rays and that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's
but then the interpretation of it is
sure.
Yeah.
But you're right, they've got a pretty good track record, and you just see Howie at the draft, just like he's got like an injured guy or guy coming off an injury or guy who's had issues as he's dropping, and Howie's just sitting there waiting, like, when am I going to take him? Just kind of trying to gauge the value and the pick. He's been really good at it.
Yeah, and look, the medical stuff is scary to some extent, because there were teams that would not draft Jihad Campbell because they were worried about long-term injuries. And these are doctors, right? They don't have fake doctors working for these teams. They're just different opinions on a player, and that scares you a little bit. But man, if his medicals come out clean long-term, this could be a huge steal.
Yeah, no question about it.
Okay. And then number one, I'm assuming you have signing Kylan Granson.
No, I had acquiring Dorian Thompson-Robinson as part of the Kenny Pickett trade. Quarterback.
We both have re-signing Zack Baun, 3 years, $51 million. It was, they could have done it during the season, and that's the one where, I know Howie talks about you don't want to disturb the locker room. I don't think anyone would have had too much to say if they extended Zack Baun during the season last year. I think everyone would have understood it, but they waited, they gambled a little bit, and they still made it happen.
Yeah, and it was a little scary because it was not a guarantee he was going to be back. And the thought of losing him after the year he had and what he meant to this team, what he meant to this defense, the way he played. I mean, the thought of losing him, like, we all thought he'd be back. We all thought there was a pretty good chance. He was pretty clear about where he wanted to be and what this organization meant to him, what Vic meant to him. I mean, they were the team that believed in him and figured out what he could do, what he'd be best at. Maybe some other team would have done that, but the Eagles did it. And so it seemed all along like it would happen. But man, when you start having money, big money thrown at you, or the prospect of it, it can be really tempting. So he did take a risk. Howie was going to be steadfast in his approach. I'm just not going to sign anybody. It's a little dangerous, but I'm curious, like, what his confidence level was that he would get this done. Maybe, I'm sure he talked to the agent. Maybe there were some assurances that their thoughts about his value matched up. but it was a little risky. Man, they're so lucky to have him and to get him back for a few more years.
Yeah, that's a good point, because even though there aren't deals being consummated during the last season, doesn't mean that there aren't exploratory talks about what do you think the value might be. And you imagine Zack Baun's agent watching last season going, oh my God, this guy's going to get paid. And Zack had to be doing the same thing. Like, he signed a really minimal deal to come here as a 1-year player. And now he's an all-pro, one of the highest paid linebackers in the league, and he deserves it.
Yeah. What a story. I mean, it's really one of the all-timers. I have nothing to compare it with. And, we've talked about it. I think you made the point a few weeks ago that this is a guy who's still new at this position and has upside and is going to get better. And it might not be reflected in the stats. He might not have as many fumble recoveries or whatever, but he's still learning that position. And that's a scary thing. I mean, you think just how good he can be. And I mean, I don't see him as a guy who is going to stand still.
No, definitely not. It's exciting to think about him in year 2 in Vic's defense, because he was already so good in year 1. And Cooper DeJean, similarly, those two guys in the middle of this defense, passing off zone coverage, like, that is a thing of beauty already. And it's going to become more natural to them as they go along here.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. And he got the coach to bring it out of him.
Last in the playoffs, when Baun had the Bill Berge pendant, everyone was like, "There's no way they let this guy walk out the door, right?" And you're like, "I don't think so." Like,
yeah,
it was, once you get to that level, it's like that was priority number 1 this offseason.
It was really priority number 1, and I'm gonna say it was the only priority, but it was like nothing was close. I mean, yeah, you want to re-sign Jurgens, you want to bring Dallas, but I mean, that was the move that he had to make. And once that was made, it's like, it's already a successful offseason. Once he got that done, like, you're not going to get everybody you want. You're not going to keep everybody you want. But once that move was made, I felt like it's been a good offseason for Howie, no matter what else happens.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And that was kind of the point when free agency actually began, and you saw all these teams making moves. Remember what the Eagles did? They had that Zack Baun press conference as free agency kicked off to let everyone know this was our move. This was what we did. I think that was very purposeful.
Oh, there's no question about it. Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the schedule. We don't have to get into it too deep. We only know a few of the games so far. And Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m., we will really break down the full schedule on YouTube. But the opener, Eagles-Cowboys. At the link, the Eagles get to raise their Super Bowl banner with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys watching. That in itself is fun, but the Eagles are also 7-point favorites.
Is that right? That's the line already?
Yeah.
It's really interesting to me that they've only played on opening day once since 1975, and that was the pickle juice game in 2000. But man, raising the championship, I mean, just doing that in Jerry's face is, I mean, Jeff Lurie's going to enjoy every moment of that. I mean, it's a great day. No matter, you could have the Jaguars there or anybody, but to do it in front of the Cowboys, your biggest rival, is pretty cool. But I was shocked that they've never opened once in the last 50 years. And they haven't opened with the Cowboys in Philly since 1970 at Franklin Field. And back then, the Cowboys were so much better than the Eagles. It was no contest. Happened 3 times in the 70s, and the Cowboys won them all in lopsided games. 2000 was the only opener they've ever beaten the Cowboys, and one of the wildest days I've ever been a part of covering this team.
Yeah, in a little bit, we're going to do our countdown of the 5 best Eagles games against the Cowboys after the break. But what did you? I was a little surprised it's the Cowboys. I think a lot of people were talking about the Lions, perhaps.
Yeah.
For that opener. What do you make of a division game to start off the season? Because in recent years, obviously you have a few division games sprinkled in the first couple of months, but I would imagine it'll be a similar thing this year too. But you kind of backload all of those division games in recent years.
Yeah, I mean that's been the the MO, and I like it. I like finishing with all the division games. I like the way it works. I was just wondering the last time, you probably looked this up already, the last time they opened with a division team was 2020 at Washington.
Yeah.
And I think the year before they opened with Washington as well, I think. So yeah, it doesn't happen much, especially lately. I kind of like it. I mean, it's a big game. It's like if you win that game, that's pretty huge. And I think Dallas will be better. You would think at that point in the season, Dak's going to be healthy. you would guess. They got Pickens. So
it's one way to ensure that you have Dak versus Jalen, or to try to ensure you have Dak versus Jalen, which we haven't seen a whole lot of.
Yeah, well, we know Jalen's not going to get hurt in the preseason because he won't play. Maybe he'll play a series. Doubt it. But yeah, I think the ratings are going to be insane. It's going to be a fun night. And it's a huge game. 7 points. I guess that makes sense. I mean, I still think the Eagles are significantly better than the Cowboys, but I think the Cowboys, I still think they're the second best team in the division. And I know Washington had a big year.
Really?
I do with Dak. Yeah, I think they'll be fighting Washington for second place in NFC East. I don't want to jinx the Eagles trying to become the first team since 03 and 04 to win back-to-back divisions. Yeah, I think Dallas has a lot of talent, but they've always had a lot of talent and never do anything. So, that Washington quarterback's really, really good. But it's going to be a really fun night, and it's going to be an important game.
The Philadelphia Eagles approach 2025 with focus and edge. The offseason perfectly displayed realignment. That said, all decisions came intentionally. There was no experimental move at all. 6 critical calls reinforced timing, tightened coverage, upgraded spacing, and locked internal structure. Consequently, the team got a system with fewer variables, stronger durability, and better clarity across positions. Probably, that's how a contender upgrades. Let's break down those 6 awesome moves now. To start, Zack Baun stays because he's been pretty good at keeping the defense synchronized. His contract served as validation. Notably, Baun communicates in short bursts, which include straightforward changes, fast reads, and immediate adjustments. He flattens misdirection and compresses passing windows. Also, his alignment work creates clean fronts for the interior line and predictable lanes for safeties. Every defensive layer benefits when the middle operates on real-time recognition. Philadelphia perhaps extended Baun to preserve that function. At least analysts say so. They say continuity at linebacker anchors pre-snap flow. The rest of the defense moves faster when assignments don't drift. Next is Cam Jurgens, who never chases blocks. He sets angles early, and his finishes are genuinely clean. Isn't that what separates good centers from system pivots? Philadelphia extended him before the market initiated conversations. Jurgens operates the offensive line as a 5-man instrument. He redirects inside stunts with minor hand movements, sets pocket depth for the quarterback, and beautifully adjusts without interfering play call rhythm. Hence, Philadelphia reinforced its identity by locking the core, and Jurgens became the tempo regulator. Now coming to Barkley. He changed box shape every time he stepped onto the field. Defensive fronts condense pre-snap to account for his lateral breaks. It's a spatial consequence tied directly to presence. In 2024, Barkley moved chains without substitution. There was no situational packaging or formation shrinkage. He produced across all downs, all quadrants. Philadelphia extended him to maintain that gravitational pull. The decision supported efficiency. His production simplified play design and expanded route trees. These rookies entered camp with timing and exited preseason with territory. Mitchell closes throwing windows with early breaks, and Dejin tracks layered concepts across tight zone shell. Both eliminate delays in secondary transitions. Philadelphia no longer needs rotations to cover perimeter flaws. These corners shrink spacing through route recognition and quick hips. Insiders say, the defense now sends pressure without trade-offs. Coverage remains intact behind movement, and that's a luxury created through shrewd scouting and accurate development timelines. The Eagles refused to restructure their line. Instead, they reinforced it. Several linemen signed fresh deals. As such, there's no imported fits or rebuild. This line already understands rhythm. Here, pull blocks arrive early, and traps land at the second level without drift. Needless to say, here, cadence doesn't call for any explanation. Philadelphia built consistency through preservation, and that's exactly why every block connects to a memory and every adjustment pulls from repetition. Analysts appreciate how Philadelphia handled depth. Bryce Huff arrived, contributed to system spacing, then moved for draft capital. There was hardly any dead weight left. Other additions filled usage profiles, which include short yardage edge help, special teams enforcers, and rotational backs who complement tempo. Each player matched an existing demand, and snap loads were measured enough. The Philadelphia Eagles don't seem to be in the mood for noise. They're probably building something more deliberate. While other teams are busy chasing splash signings and camp stories, the Eagles have atypically turned inward. This offseason isn't about headlines, but fit and roles. And most importantly, it's about one rookie who isn't waiting for permission to matter: Ty Robinson. However, the Eagles' story doesn't stop there. This summer is full of movement, tape study, and a defensive reset. Ty Robinson was drafted to hold his ground, and from the first week of OTAs, he's done that pretty well. It's not the kind of rise you hear in marketing emails or preseason hype reels. Practically, it's the kind teammates talk about when coaches aren't listening. When Jalen Carter calls you fire and Jordan Davis says you play like a vet, you've earned a level of trust that rookies don't usually touch. And Robinson didn't luck into it. He came out of Nebraska with numbers that didn't lie. 7 sacks and over 12 tackles for loss. That production turned heads during draft season. Robinson works with a low center. His hands don't drift, and usually, he fights through leverage. That technique, paired with raw drive, is probably the reason why players are already asking where he lines up. Now that Milton Williams is gone and Fletcher Cox retired, there's room to take ownership. Talking about the defensive line room, it hasn't collapsed. Carter and Davis are still the central pieces. However, it needs an anchor beside them, and Robinson is showing signs he can be that. He's been stacking practices and absorbing scheme language. That's what they call readiness. Meanwhile, Vic Fangio is putting shape to a defense that will rely less on volume and more on spacing. The front four must hold, and the linebackers need to shift smoothly. The safeties also need to rotate without signaling it. That kind of design leaves no room for confusion. Robinson's value, then, isn't just physical, it's structural. He keeps the front honest and gives back-end time, and he does it without freelancing. Around him, other names are floating with less noise, but similar potential. Jihad Campbell has taken over linebacker meetings with presence. He's calling out pre-snap changes and closing on flat routes with quick feet. Zack Baun has also impressed with his timing and control in zone coverage. His movement in space looks way sharper than it did last season. On the offensive side, the Eagles made their big move without making it loud. Saquon Barkley walked in with little fanfare but massive consequences. His addition changes short yardage decisions, and it adjusts how defenses set their fronts. That's how it buys Jalen Hurts an extra second when it counts. Barkley's presence also allows the Eagles to rotate backs without giving up on versatility. Every drive becomes less predictable, and every third down becomes less obvious. Adoree Jackson, on the other hand, steps into a cornerback group that needed both clarity. He's not a shutdown name, but he's a technician indeed. He's lined up against speed and strength and doesn't panic at the stem. In a Fangio system, that steadiness definitely makes a lot of sense. Next, rumors around TJ Watt floated briefly. Some fans got excited, while others rolled their eyes. However, the front office didn't bite. The Eagles have chosen to watch how their rookies hold up against experienced teams. If Watt becomes available under the right terms, maybe a conversation happens. Until then, it's about developing the players already on the field. That includes Tyler Steen, who has quietly improved his pass protection technique, and Ricky Pearsall, who's finding space on the third receiver unit with polished route timing. This offseason is exact because it's made of fit, tempo, and restraint, say analysts. Ty Robinson is the most visible sign of that. He's a fourth-round rookie who's stepped into a veteran's role without asking permission. They say he's part of a bigger design, one where structure is way more important than spotlight. And when the game begins, this quiet summer will probably start speaking loudly. So subscribe and stay tuned. We'll be watching every snap, so should you.